was a placement for financial reasons, and in that particular case, academics remained the same, and the district had a very clean audit when it was done. So uniquely in Texas, because this is not true in the national experience, every single one of our state interventions has resulted in fairly immediate improvements in the quality of student learning. Now, that doesn't mean I can give you any guarantee. There is no guarantee in life. But we have a strong track record of success with regard to state interventions in Texas.
There's a group of to take over. The board is out. What about the superintendent?
The law requires that both the board and superintendent to be named at the same time.
There's a group of parents who have said, while they've heard your comments and understand the statute is clear, their concern is that there's been a lot of change in this district, not just recently, but over the years. It's like you get a plan, and then a little while later you change it, and then you change it. And they say the kids just went through a change, and they're fearful that the statute may force you to go in one direction, but will that create more change when their kids are just seeming to get under this new way that Dr. Molinar has changed things? It appears to be working. And they say they just wish they could beg you to look at what's happening now.
For whatever reason, the conditions on the ground here at Fort Worth over the last 20 years have seen wave after wave after wave of new initiative for teachers. And that has happened across multiple slates of elected board members, across multiple superintendents. And for those of you who know and work with teachers, it's really frustrating to be in an environment where you're just faced with one thing after another after another. When we think about something like a board of managers, there are changes that have to be made, because otherwise we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. The goal is to make those changes quickly and then to reach some degree of stability so that we can just trend upwards year in, year out for our kids. I think the challenge here in Fort Worth is you see a level of student proficiency that is much lower than what we see in similar environments in districts across the state. And it's the same resource base, and our kids are kids. They will learn. And yet we have not been successful historically in this city, in this school district. And ultimately that's the moral issue at play. This law is predicated on a basic philosophy that yes, you might have excellence in one place, but we are judged by how well we support the most at need. That you do for the least of my brothers, you do for me. And that's what this moral commitment is about. Public education is supposed to be the great equalizer, that every kid, regardless of what zip code they live in, regardless of what their household looks like, they come to one of our schools and we deliver them excellence from a situation of content, from a loving adult in a disciplined environment, and we want that to be true. If an intervention comes to pass here, that is the laser objective that we are focused on, is giving our kids a very rigorous, loving learning environment every day.
Couple more. You mentioned what you came here looking to find. What did you find? Can you just describe what you've seen today?
I've seen classroom instruction from about 3rd grade through about 7th grade in English and math. I've been able to sit with teachers while they go through planning processes. Been able to see reflections after teaching and get some sense of their approach to the design of curriculum, the supports they provide to teachers, the supports they provide to principals. It's a lot of very specific nuances of instructional delivery and curriculum design. That's what I saw, and I saw some variation in that. Saw highs and lows.
I mentioned the circumstance.
Is 5 years too long? Should there have been
to allow this sort of thing? Yeah, I mean, morally, you're talking to somebody who ran for the school board because my background is non-traditional. I was a member of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program for a decade in Dallas, and my first little, when he turned 16, he wanted to apply for a job at Brahms. Comes to the house, we sit down, he tries to fill out a job application, and he couldn't. He could not fill out an entry-level job application without my assistance. And this is not acceptable. We cannot allow this to happen to our brothers and sisters. So I sold my software company and ran for the school board because I never wanted that to happen ever again to anybody else in one of our schools. And so, yes, 5 years is too long. But we live we don't live in a utopia. There will be some difficulties. There will be some times that we will stumble. But if you allow 5 years of failure in an individual school, it is not a stumble. It is neglect.
Mike, okay, really quick. The decision is yours and yours alone on what interventions are going to happen. Are you consulting anyone else, and what are the factors that you're weighing? And what's your message for families in Fort Worth who are understandably really concerned about this?
Certainly, several different questions. Obviously, I try to seek counsel from all corners to make wise decisions. It's one of the reasons why I'm here today. For families, our job is to ensure that you have access to a great school. That is what we want. I am not just Commissioner of Education. I'm a dad. I got 4 young kids. I want my kids to have access to a great school. I want all 5.5 million kids in Texas to have access to a great school, and that is all that we are focused on trying to make sure happens in Fort Worth.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Commissioner, can you say anything about lawmakers voting on STAR today? All right, I know you don't like to talk about things.
They did vote. I don't know if has it passed yet. You might.
Well, we've been listening here to the TEA Commissioner Mike Morath address some questions about the future of whether Fort Worth ISD will come under some sort of state takeover by the TEA due to having so many F-rated schools and essentially for underperforming as a district as a whole. We do know that the district as a whole, they were rated as a D district back in 2023. There was talk of improvements that were made and of it coming up to a rating of a C for this year, for 2025. But of course, that is not enough right now to consider this a big victory. That's why Mike Morath, the TEA commissioner, was there touring specifically William James Middle School, a school that continues to be rated as an F-rated campus. It has been F-rated since 2021. And one of the interesting comments that he made, specifically talking about that school, was if you allow 5 years of failure, he said, quote, "It is not a stumble, it is in fact neglect," which is the main reason why the TEA right now is considering this. We've got our Robbie Owens standing by as well. As soon as we can get her up, we want to debrief with her and talk a little bit with her about some of the things that were said there. But another thing that is important to point out here is that the commissioner, we thought that maybe he'd be making an announcement today of whether the TEA takeover would in fact happen, or intervention as he's calling it. But he says that he has a decision that he's going to be making within the next 3 or so months. So there isn't an official word on that today. Also, not an official date or a deadline as to when that decision could be made, just basically saying 3 or so months. So that leaves a wide sort of ranging amount of time available for that decision to be made, if in fact the TEA will take over the district or not. We know that our Robbie Owens also was with the commissioner as he was making the rounds and touring the school today. We certainly want to get her thoughts on things. Just as soon as we can get her, we'll chat with her live here on the stream. I know that we're working to get her on camera right now as well. But again, just a couple more stats to throw at you here. It's something that we've been reporting at here right now. One of the literacy rate was something that was brought into question and took front and center for Fort Worth ISD. The district being historically scored as underperforming, just being poor in that area. In 2024, as a matter of fact, 31% of students were meeting the grade level. Just 31% back in 2024. That was just last year. This year in 2025, it's rose to 37%. So 6% increase in that, but clearly not the kind of numbers or the kind of statistic that would give anyone any real confidence that the literacy rate has overall improved to an acceptable rate or to an acceptable level, something again that was discussed there by the TEA commissioner. But once again, we do know that the school district in general, they've gone through a lot of changes recently with the new superintendent as well coming in, the superintendent Molinar. Who took over in recent years. We know that there have been efforts to try and improve things across the board. But again, going back to a quote that was said if you allow 5 years of failure, that's not a stumble, that is a neglect, kind of speaks historically to what perhaps the TEA and educational leaders throughout the state at the state level, what they have been looking at. So do we have Robbie yet, guys? Anybody know? All right, we're going to get Robbie Owens here in just a little bit. Again, so 3 or so months, what does that mean? It means that decision can come at any moment. It could mean that it could come sometime later on this year. What we didn't hear from Mike Morath was an immediate need to make that decision, to make that determination right now, or to make that determination immediately. So that's something that we're just going to have to wait and see right now. He did talk about being here on the ground and speaking to parents as well, to sort of take some counsel, as he said, from not just other educational leaders, but from families as well, who are understandably right now worried, and they might be a little anxious as to what the future holds for Fort Worth ISD. But again, that's not a decision that we're going to learn today. We thought that perhaps that's what this news conference or that availability was going to be about. But we don't know that for sure. I'm being told that Robbie Owens is standing by live now to continue this conversation a little bit more. Robbie, thanks for joining us here on the stream. Good to see you. We just heard the comments made. So 3 or so months, that's when an actual decision might be made on this. What takeaways did you have from what Mike Morath had to say?
Ken, I think what I take away from this, I see the intent. I see that he wants to ensure that, in his words, that all students have access to a great education. And he called it a moral imperative to make that happen. He also pointed out that really the next steps are really not up to him, that state law only gives him two options. If a school has failed for more than 5 years, it's to either close that school or to replace leadership in the district, including the superintendent, with a board of managers. I asked the question, if you heard earlier, what evidence could he provide to this community that a state takeover would in fact improve conditions, and he insists that any time that this has happened, that they have seen improvement in those districts. Obviously, there were questions about community concerns as well, and what assurances he could give to the community and teachers who have been through wave after wave of change, that this next one will be the one that works. It's a complicated conversation, and obviously a lot of needs that need to be met throughout, both families, staff, and educators. It is a heavy decision, I guess is what you could say I came away with this afternoon after hearing from the commissioner. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Robbie, well, the same. I think a lot of us were maybe expecting, because we've been reporting on this for so long now. We've known the condition that Fort Worth ISD is under. We thought, we'd hear today whether in fact there was going to be some sort of we keep calling it a state takeover, TEA takeover, but in fact he described it as being an intervention. But the fact that we're going to have to wait 3 or so months now to figure this out, you would think that maybe at the beginning of a school year perhaps is the ideal time to make a decision like that, so everybody can sort of settle in for the long haul. But you're talking about, closer to the holidays. And I don't know what that does for the families that you speak of, and some of the anxiety that they're feeling and some of the worries that they're feeling, if the time of that makes sense or not. But obviously, it sounds like they've got a lot more work to do. They can't make that decision right now, Robbie.
Yes, he is, we're told, visiting 3 campuses today from 3rd through 7th grade. When he was asked what he's looking for, he said he wanted to see students being engaged. He wanted to see the level of the curriculum. He said he was also looking for support. He wanted to see how the school district is supporting teachers and principals on these campuses. It is a lot to take in, and he admitted that it was just a snapshot, popping into these classes today. He is soliciting other counsel, and I would hope also looking at the challenges facing each of these campuses. I looked at some of the background for the campus that we're at here, William James Middle School. Almost 95% of the students at this campus are economically disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Almost 65% of them are learning English or bilingual. So I know with the commissioner's background as a board trustee in Dallas, he's well versed in the challenges that are present in urban situations, but he still says that many of the students in Fort Worth ISD are still not performing on the same level as other students with those similar challenges. So the challenge, I think, for him and for this community is to figure out a long-term fix for those students, because he said it is absolutely unacceptable for them to continue to be allowed to fail.
No doubt. He called it neglect, as a matter of fact. He was very, very specific in his choice of words, saying that it's not a stumble. It's in fact neglect. So we'll have to wait and see. Okay, Robbie Owens, I know you're going to have a whole lot more on this throughout the day over on CBS News Texas and CBSNewsTexas.com. So we invite our viewers to stay tuned here to watch more of your in-depth reporting on this. But for right now, I thank you for chatting with me. And I thank you for tuning in for this CBS News Texas streaming live hit as we follow what is happening in Fort Worth ISD. As I said, we're going to have a whole lot more throughout the day, so stay tuned. Take care.